16th. I think the 16th. Yes, it is. How are we doing tonight, guys? Lots of news. Dear Lord, there's a lot of news. This is John Aravosis with the Aravosis Report, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. We are going to talk about the latest news from Ukraine, but we are also going to talk about a lot of Russia news and a lot of Donald Trump news. It is an insane news day. I mean, I have pages and pages and pages of notes. So let me get rolling on TikTok. And as I said, it's going to be a busy news day. So buckle in, buckle up, tie yourselves in, whatever. We're going to be here a while. All right, hang on here. Mirror my image. Just getting TikTok rolling. There we go. Hey, Sally. All right. TikTok is rolling. Hey, Zerpachi. Hey, Malin. All right, guys. How are we doing today? Busy news day here. Very, very, very busy. So, woo. Yes, Putin did not get to me. No, I'm not important enough. Thank you, Debsy, for the gift. Anyway, how are we doing, folks? Like I said, crazy busy news day today. I've got a lot of news to talk about. Thank you, Crazy American. Thank you, Elizabeth. Just insane day. At the airport? Oh, going anywhere fun? I hope. Thank you, Jane, for the gift. I am good. Just sort of energized because it's such a crazy news day. Thank you, Martin. And Nicholas and John. That's one of the things when you work sort of in news. Thank you, John. When you work in news, you sort of, thank you. Oh, and Jen Thomas. Busy news days are interesting and invigorating, even if they're bad news days, because bad news is still news. And if you sort of live for news, and it's energizing, I'll put it that way. So, anyway, excuse me. I sneezed a few times before the show, and whenever I sneeze, then I start to cough and everything kicks in. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Navalny, all right. Hey, Red, thank you for the gift there. All right, let me just dive right in, guys. We have a ton of news today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, James. Thank you, Bryce, for the gifts. I am John Aravosis. This is my show. I do it live from Washington, D.C. every Monday to Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern. And we cover the war in Ukraine, but I also cover related national security issues. And I also cover, the U.S. elections, because kind of hard not to, thank you, Blue Ariel, kind of hard not to cover them. And PC Knoll, I'm probably pronouncing wrong your nickname, but thank you for that. Let's dive right in. There is a ridiculous amount of news today. So today is day 722 of Vladimir Putin's special military operation. The big story, there's a ton of big stories today. Aleksei Navalny, opposition leader in Moscow, killed by Putin. Trump found liable by a judge in New York for $354 million for fraud. God, I'm trying to think. There was more than that. I've got a lot more than that, but I'm trying to think sort of the headlines to give you guys here. Trump fraud judgment. Oh, Burisma. The entire fraud case, not fraud, but the entire case against Joe Biden for impeachment the Republicans had just imploded last night and went out the window. Their top witness was just indicted by the FBI for lying about the entire thing. Those are like the three big stories, but they're huge stories. Let's start with Navalny. So Aleksei Navalny is dead. Top Russian opposition leader, has been the top leader for years, tried to run against Putin. Putin didn't like it, obviously spoke out against Putin's corruption. Thank you, Marie. Putin had him jailed. First Putin tried to kill him. He poisoned him with Novichok, which is a nerve agent that the Russians have used before on dissidents. They then jailed him on trumped-up charges, which, again, is something Russia does. The first jail sentence was 2.5 years in 2021. Then, while he's in jail, they give him a separate 9-year sentence on fraud charges. I think that happened while he was in jail. Then he's still in jail now. And they get him on another 19 years for extremism. Now, mind you, he's already in prison, okay, as a political prisoner, and Putin just decides to cook up another 19-year charge against the guy for extremism. How can you be an extremist if you're in prison and locked away? In solitary, mind you. Thank you, Adventures. Last winter, Putin had Navalny moved to a different prison in Siberia. People were very worried about what happened. Thank you, Critter, because he just disappeared for weeks on end. Now the thinking is the conclusion is that Putin had him moved because they were preparing to kill him. And they thought it'd be easier to kill him at this security prison in Siberia. Navalny was poisoned once before by Putin in the year 2000. He was on an airplane, had a sudden emergency. They was flown and treated in Germany. The German doctors determined that it was Novichok, a Soviet-era poison, a nerve agent that the Russians had given him. The Insider, Bellingcat, CNN, and Der Spiegel all published an investigation which concluded that Navalny was poisoned by Russian agents. I mean, the list goes on, guys. I'm going to tell you a little bit. So Bill Browder weighed in about this, who's very interesting. Browder is, excuse me, was an American, is now we have trolls already. Edward Snowden and Assange. Let's entertain the trolls a little bit. First of all, you know what to do, mods. But let's talk about Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. Are they dead? Were they poisoned? Were they political opponents? No. None of the above. Julian Assange and Edward Snowden broke the law. Julian Assange broke the law in order to get Donald Trump elected. Remember this, folks. Google it. Julian Assange admitted the entire WikiLeaks thing he did because he wanted Hillary Clinton to lose and Donald Trump to win. Okay? So first thing with Julian Assange. Julian Assange can rot in hell. He's a criminal. And he's also the reason we are all he is the reason, thank you, Pedro, that every single one of us in the world has to deal with Donald Trump is because of Julian Assange. Edward Snowden, same thing, criminal. Stole reams of classified information, and you know what? That's the breaks. You don't go to work for the CIA and steal a ton of classified information. If you do, you pay the breaks. So Edward Snowden, by the way, thank you, Scott, decided to defect to Moscow. So now Snowden is in Moscow. Got rid of his American citizenship. He's a proud Russian now. Thank you, Frank. Raising his children as Russian. So proud of Edward Snowden. So yeah, bottom line though is Edward Snowden and Julian Assange went through the legal process. That's the difference too, by the way. Not only do we not kill our political opponents like the Russians do, thank you, Critter. And by the way, I'm glad that troll said that because I am going to inflict on you 3 pages of Russian political prisoners, or I should say just opposition people who have been murdered by Vladimir Putin. Because that crap doesn't happen in the West. It does happen in Russia. They kill people. We don't kill them. And in our countries, by the way, you go through the judicial system, and if it's a trumped up charge, you win. Because we actually have a real judiciary. Thank you, Stephen. We are not a dictatorship. Thank you, Lamb Chop, like Russia, where literally the judges just do whatever you want. So far, I mean, some people are trying to change our country, but so far, the judges do the right thing. As we saw when Donald Trump tried to steal the election, and 61 courts threw out 61 cases that Donald Trump brought. All 61 cases Trump brought challenging the election that were fake, based on a lie. All 61 judges threw those cases out, even Donald Trump's own judges. Okay? So that's the difference between what happens in Russia. Julian Assange is alive. Edward Snowden is alive, and they all had due process, and they all could have gone through the court system. Julian Assange did. Edward Snowden decided to run and hide like a little kid and defect to Russia because Edward Snowden didn't have the courage of his own convictions. So, and they're both alive. Thank you very much. So let's go on. Since it upsets the troll so much when we talk about Vladimir Putin being a murderer, let's talk a little more about it. So Bill Browder weighed in. Browder is very interesting. He is a American businessman, but now former American businessman. He is now a English businessman, a British businessman. He has British citizenship, and he has been very involved. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, others. He's been very involved with sort of the rule of law in Russia. He was involved with, oh my God, I'm forgetting his name with the M. You know what I mean? Thank you, Booty. Thank you, Dark. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. Thank you, Parda. The Magnitsky. Yes, with the Magnitsky Act. Another opposition person who Putin had killed. Thank you. So Browder weighed in today on why Putin did this. And he said 3 main reasons for it. 1, Putin wanted to eliminate a political opponent. Fair enough, right? 2, he wanted to show Russians that if you oppose Putin, you will face death. I mean, perfect way to run a dictatorship, right? You kill somebody, you kill one person so that all the other people are afraid. In Putin's case, of course, you kill 20 people so that all the other people are afraid. And thirdly, it sent a message to those sitting at the Munich Security Conference, a big annual conference going on right now in Munich of all the defense chiefs and national security types from around the world. it sends the message to them where world leaders meet to discuss global defense issues that Mr. Putin can cross every red line and get away with it. Putin clearly enjoys being a bully. There was a quote today I read. Oh, and I wish I'd written down sort of who it came from. But oh, shoot, I'm forgetting now. But it was from a Russian. And they had told somebody once that I follow online that in Russia, it's not just enough to win. You have to win and be as cruel as possible. And that's what this is about. This is about Putin showing his cruelty. It is about Putin being a murderer and being proud of being a murderer. Let's talk about Putin's murders at this point, okay? Only because, again, I think it's important. I think it's important for people to understand, especially because we have the trolls who are going to play the Julian Assange, this kind of crap. Let's talk about Putin's history of murder. Thank you, Tom. Because there ain't nothing like it. There ain't nothing like it in any other, well, there is outside of the West, in Middle East and other places, but not in any kind of developed nation. And by the way, please keep the gifts coming, guys. I do this for free. I do it full time. So I very much appreciate the gifts on TikTok and YouTube because you pay my bills and help me keep doing this. So thank you. And thank you, Ellie, for the gift there and Dark. So listen to this, okay? Let's put my glasses on and let's talk about a few of the people who Vladimir Putin who has had killed. By the way, interesting little point here. Which I forgot to mention this, somebody on and by the way, I just had my inhaler because my allergies were bothering me. And my inhaler is like having 10 cups of coffee. So I am going to be flying even more than usual tonight because at least for 15 minutes, it gets me going like, ah. Thank you, Martin. I'm not sure what the inhalers do, but somehow it gets like it gets everything jolted as Ash just said. It's like caffeine. It's wild. Yeah, that's one of the prettiest gifts that Martin just did. Thank you, Martin. And I'm a big Storm fan as well. Keep in mind, and somebody on TikTok had mentioned this earlier, Putin came to power via mass murder. It is believed that Vladimir Putin was responsible for a series of bombings in apartment buildings across Moscow, killed hundreds of people. And he did this months before a crucial election when he was first coming into politics. And Putin, it is believed, killed hundreds of people in Moscow. Thank you, Big Hawk, because he wanted to make it look like there were these Chechen terrorists. I think it was Chechen terrorists taking over, and the strong Vladimir Putin would come in and stop them. So keep in mind, this guy was a murderer from the beginning, not surprisingly. Thank you, Lamb Chop. And his entire political career started with murder. But I digress. Anna Politkovskaya, October 7th, 2006. This was a nice list that Sky News put together of the people who Putin who has had killed and attacked. Anna Politkovskaya, October 7th, 2006. Journalist Anna Politkovskaya, I cannot pronounce her name, was shot in the lobby of her apartment building. Before her death, she had specialized in investigating human rights abuses in Chechnya and corruption more broadly. Boris Nemtsov, a former deputy prime minister of Russia under President Boris Yeltsin, Nemtsov was a fierce critic of Putin and a prominent opposition leader. He had been working on a report examining Russia's role in the conflict in Ukraine in 2015. At age 55, he was killed. He was shot dead on a bridge just meters from the Kremlin as he walked home at night with his girlfriend. Alexander Litvinenko, a former agent with Russia's FSB security service, follow-on to the KGB. He fled Russia and eventually gained British citizenship, where he was poisoned with polonium-210 in his tea, a rare and very potent radioactive isotope. Ravil Maganov, the chairman, mind you, in that case, what is really interesting too, in this case, they killed a British citizen. This was part of the thing, by the way. He got away with it. I mean, this was the kind of stuff, when you murder a British citizen, that is an act of war. I'm not saying you go to war over it, but it's an act of war. And that's the kind of stuff, I don't want to knock the Brits because the Brits have been really more amazing than we have been in terms of the war in Ukraine. But on something like this, that was a huge mistake. And of course, it wasn't the last time the Russians did it. But I digress. Ravil Maganov, the chairman of the board of Russia's second largest oil producer, Lukoil, openly critical of the war in Ukraine In September of 2022, the 67-year-old Mr. Maganov died after apparently falling from a 6th-floor window at the Central Clinical Hospital in Moscow. He was at a hospital and somehow fell from a 6th-floor window because who doesn't, right? Investigative journalist Paul Klebnikov, an American of Russian descent, killed outside his office in a drive-by shooting in Moscow in 2004. He was the editor of Forbes Russia and had written about corruption. Natalia Estemirova, an award-winning human rights campaigner who had collected evidence of abuses in Chechnya since the start of the Second War in 1999, kidnapped from her home on July 15th of 2009 in the Chechen capital. 7 hours later, her body was found in an area of the woods with gunshots to the head and chest. Former Russian politician Denis Voronenkov, outspoken critic of Putin, previously a member of parliament, fled to Ukraine in 2016, shot and killed. Former billionaire Boris Berezovsky, living in exile in Britain since 2000, found dead in 2013. Formerly a colonel with the Russian military intelligence, Sergei Skripal, another one who went to Britain, and I believe got British intelligence, got British citizenship, I'm not sure. Where is this? 2018, along with his daughter, poisoned with the nerve agent Novichok. Sound familiar? The same Russian Soviet nerve agent that they used to kill, that they tried to kill Navalny with several years ago. They used against a guy who defected and went west. But the pair survived. Liberal politician Sergei Yushchenkov, shot dead in a Moscow suburb in 2003. He had been willing to speak out against Putin and the war in Chechnya. So this is what Russia is. And the thing that worries me is, once again, it is not just in isolation that Putin's a dictator and Putin's a murderer. It is a larger problem here, guys, of this guy is now thinking he's, what's the word? Not released, sort of unhither, what's the word I'm looking for here? Basically, it's kind of like, lets his hair loose and feels like he doesn't care anymore. He can do whatever the heck he wants. It's not just invincible. Thank you, Kronos. It's untethered. It's finally I'm able to do what I want, right? I'm no longer unrestrained. That's the word I'm looking for. Unrestrained, right? That somehow now the war in Ukraine has kind of let him be the full genocidal dictator he's always wanted to be, the murderer he always wanted to be. I mean, he always was. But now, this is what's so scary about this. Murdering your top political opponent and getting away with it. And he is getting away with it. I was very upset today. Biden got asked about this. And again, I'm not going to forgive Biden on this one. Biden did not misspeak. Biden knew what he was saying and got asked, and he said, okay, journalist says to him, 3 years ago, you said there would be devastating consequences for Vladimir Putin. And you told him this, and it went public. There would be devastating consequences for Vladimir Putin if he killed Aleksei Navalny. Well, he killed Aleksei Navalny. What are the consequences? Joe Biden responded and goes, well, that was 3 years ago. That was the first comment. And I was going, what? I'm watching it live on TV going, what? That was 3 years ago. And since then, we've had the sanctions on Ukraine. They've lost a lot of troops in Ukraine. And he's giving all this list about Ukraine stuff and says, therefore, he's faced consequences. And it's like, no. Actually, what you just did was excuse the murder of a political opponent and say, by the way, that A, America's word doesn't matter, that if America makes threats and makes demands, if you cross the line that we told you don't cross, we won't do anything. Because what Putin did in Ukraine, Putin got sanctions in Ukraine for going to war in Ukraine. He didn't get sanctions in Ukraine for killing Navalny. Navalny was alive until this morning, right? He just killed Navalny. If there is not a response from the West, then we are saying that A, go ahead and kill your political opposition, but B, if we threaten you and tell you don't you dare or there will be devastating consequences, there won't be. My point here, to make it very sort of blunt and simple, don't make the threat then. I will respond to Timothy here, because Timothy says, what do you think he should do? Let me step a second back, because some people say that, Timothy, to excuse Biden. And my point here is, don't make the threat, don't make the promise. If you aren't going to follow through as the leader of the free world, the American president, do not say there will be devastating consequences if there aren't going to be devastating consequences, right? That's it. Thank you, Christine. Bottom line, because you look weak. It is what Obama did in Syria. Remember with the chemical weapons and the red line and all that stuff? Putin crossed the red line. Obama did zero in response. You do not say this. Now, what can he do? I'm not the president. But honestly, at the very least, what he could do, he could put together a package Okay, mods, be a little, you're going slow here, mods. I'm looking at one, Mr. all caps letters. There we go. Come on, work with me, mods. At the very least, put together a package of weapons that Putin doesn't want Ukraine to get. For example, long-range ATACMS. You come out and you say, I am putting a weapons proposal together for Congress. It is going to include the long-range ATACMS that Russia doesn't want Ukraine to get. It is going to include some other systems. Say, we are going to include F-16s that Russia doesn't want. Put together a number of things and frankly, call the Republican bluff and say, but Republicans need to pass this. The Speaker of the House today, by the way, criticized, very interesting, by the way, on this, the top Republican, MAGA Republican in the House of Representatives, who killed aid to Ukraine, who killed the border deal, right? That would have led to aid to Ukraine, came out today and basically called Putin a murderer. What is very interesting is a number of Republicans did this. The MAGA Republicans, they felt the need to distance themselves from Vladimir Putin. They felt that there was too close of a tie between themselves and Putin. And they had to make very clear that they are not Putin, they are not associated, they do not like this guy. That means if you're Biden, you tie them to Putin. They literally killed the Ukraine aid package. They are the reason Putin's getting what he wants in Ukraine. You literally give a bear hug between them and Putin. And you say, you're not for Putin? He just murdered the opposition leader. Give them the damn weapons. Give them the damn aid. Biden kind of, no, I'm serious. Like, he's not good at this stuff. He's really not. I mean, Donald's an idiot. Yes. Chazek said, notice that Donald Trump is silent. Exactly. Trump is silent. I mean, hey, daddy just got caught killing somebody. What's Trump going to say? Trump doesn't want to say, for whatever reason that Trump is bought off by Putin, Trump doesn't want to say anything, whatever it is, But anyway, pisses me off on the Biden thing because again, don't make the threat if you're not going to follow through. Don't say that there will be devastating consequences for Vladimir Putin if he kills Aleksei Navalny, only to have Aleksei Navalny killed. And then you go, well, I said that 3 years ago. No, that's not the way it works. And that is my ultimate answer to anybody that says, what should Biden do? I'm not president. He is. He's the one who met with Putin and said there will be devastating consequences. Don't tell me later that there won't be because your job is hard. Give me a freaking break. He is weak in this case. And by the way, any of us, we know what game Biden is playing. He's playing the Putin game. This is Biden in the Middle East, I think. This is certainly Biden and Ukraine. What do we got? We've got Biden who kind of stands up. First of all, Biden who stands up, but then later backs down, right? He does this with journalists. He gets mad at journalists, stands up to them, and then 2 days later goes, I'm sorry, that was really bad of me. He's classic for that, standing up and then backing down. This is Biden who doesn't like to anger Vladimir Putin. This is Biden who kind of stands up to Putin, but then backs down with Putin, right? Who wants to reach a deal with Putin, who wants an off-ramp for Putin, who doesn't want escalation with Putin. That's what you've got going on with Biden. Biden doesn't want to make Vladimir Putin angry and doesn't want to box himself in with Vladimir Putin. Because if we criticize Putin, then, we won't be able to make up with him later. Well, bottom line is, again, I'm going to move on here. Don't make promises as the American president that you do not plan to keep. Don't tell Vladimir Putin there will be, mind you, devastating consequences for killing Aleksei Navalny. If when he kills Aleksei Navalny, you're not going to do shit in response. That's BS. So Trump, in better news, Donald Trump got hit with a $354 million judgment today by a judge in New York. Please keep the gifts coming, guys. I appreciate it. Sip of water, and let's talk about Trump in better news. So this is the fraud case that Trump basically went to a number of banks. Thank you, Allie. Went to a number of banks and insurance companies. Thank you, Fred. And the federal government and the state government and filed his taxes and lied. He lied. He lied in bank loan applications. He lied in his taxes and lied about his properties he owns. Thank you, Flower Lady. Thank you, Smiggy. Lisa. Basically, when you go for a loan, right, you've got to show your assets. And he was, I believe, using the loan, the assets as collateral. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Adventures. His property as collateral. And Trump goes and basically lies to the bank. He files documents that are fake, claiming the value of his property, which was fake. Thank you, Russell. And he lied on it. Mind you, imagine, guys. I mean, this is what kind of drives me nuts with this, too. Thank you, Chazak. Thank you, Lisa. Again, the Trump defenders go, and Trump himself, nobody was harmed. Yeah, I took the money from the bank and I defrauded them, but I gave them their money back with interest. So the bank actually made money. Who was harmed? Imagine, but again, imagine. And these are Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, who love to talk about the swamp in Washington. Thank you, Adventurers. How swampy do you get? How swampy do you get that you think you can just file a fake bank application for a loan and lie through your butt on your loan application and later go, yeah, I lied on my loan application, but who's harmed? The rest of us would be in jail if we did that. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Miss Mickey, right? We would be in jail if we did that, but we're not. So Trump lied to the banks, lied to the federal government on his taxes. So he underpaid his taxes to the government. He overinflated. In other words, he claimed his property wasn't worth much to the government, so the taxes would be low. He claimed his property was worth a ton to the banks, so they'd give him a bigger loan. Totally lied. Not to mention legal documents. This stuff is illegal in so many ways. He's lucky he's not being held responsible in court, I should say legally, criminally. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Rose. But he is being held in a civil court. So basically, what the judge found was that, Kelly, sometimes you do stuff and I don't really understand, but every day I feel like there's a comment from you that kind of crosses the line. I don't mean to be rude on YouTube, but please stop it. You just, every day I've got to watch a comment from you that just seems rude. And it's getting on my nerves at this point. So please stop it. Thank you. And I don't like calling people out publicly, but every freaking day is enough already. All right, let's go on now. So as far as, Trump. So the judge found out today that Trump is guilty, of course, of fraud. I say guilty. It wasn't a criminal court. Thank you, Felicia. Who else was that? Thank you, Andrew. It wasn't a criminal case. It was a civil case. So basically, you were found, so I don't say guilty. You were found liable. You found that you did commit fraud, but it was civil fraud. And the penalty isn't going to jail. The penalty is paying a lot of money. Well, the judge found, thank you, Elizabeth, thank you, Annette, that Trump has to pay $354 million of a penalty for the fraud he committed. His sons have to pay $4 million each. His CFO, his chief financial officer, who's Alan Weiselberg, I think is his name. He's the CFO who testified against Trump. He has to pay $1 million. His sons and he are not able to hold positions in companies in New York for 2 years for the sons, 3 years for Trump. So meaning he can't be an officer, he can't be the chief executive, etc. This is going to cause problems for them with the Trump organization because they run it, right? Son Eric, I think, is the one currently in charge of the Trump organization. So very interesting on a number of levels here as far as what's going on with this. Trump can appeal. Now, I've still got to confirm this, but from what I've read, because we're still dealing with New York, remember this was the E. Jean Carroll case. So remember last week's case or 2 weeks ago when Trump lost the we knew he already lost, but when the penalty came through that he owes E. Jean Carroll, was it $80-some million for sexually assaulting her and then defaming her? Well, in that case, in order to appeal, Trump has to put the money up front to appeal, right? Hey, Kim, good to see you. Trump has to put the money up first in escrow. Well, same thing here. I've read that he's got to put the 82, 83, it was around there, yeah. I've read on this one that he also would have to put the money in escrow. So in other words, 350 million or so? I mean, it's a crazy amount of money. Thank you, Annette. And it's not clear Trump has the money, to be honest. I mean, that's a lot of money to have. He's going to have to appeal, obviously, but very interesting. I'm going to mention this one just because the bill is out there, but I don't think it's going anywhere. There is a bipartisan bill being proposed by some Republicans in the House of Representatives, which is interesting. It would give less money to Ukraine, $47 billion instead of the $60 that Biden wants, $10 billion to Israel instead of the $14 billion, and it is a bipartisan group of Republicans and Democrats who are on board with the bill. Now, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. Well, what is it? It's not going to go anywhere because it's missing a number of the border security provisions that the Republicans want. A number of Democrats aren't going to like it because it's got some very strict language about immigration that the Democrats are going to hate. But it's interesting, at least, that you've got some House Republicans that are at least willing to at least publicly say we want this bill passed and negotiate about it. I don't know. So let me see here. What else we got here? Burisma. Oh, another big story. The Burisma case exploded, or imploded, I should say. So this was wild. This is the case talking about Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, Republicans claiming that Joe Biden needs to be impeached, removed from office, because the Biden crime family, Biden and his son Hunter, had a scheme with the Ukrainians where they got paid $5 million each. His son got $5 million. He got $5 million from a Ukrainian company called Burisma. This is all a lie, by the way, that Hunter was on the board of directors, and Biden, because he was paid the $5 million, he weighed in with the Ukrainians and said, you have to fire that chief prosecutor you've got because he's going after my son. Well, we already knew the Republicans were lying because the prosecutor was fired, and the prosecutor was put under pressure to be fired because the entire civilized world had already called for it. The United States wanted the prosecutor fired. The European Union wanted him fired. The IMF and the World Bank wanted him fired. Everybody had called for this guy to be fired. It was also the U.S. position for the guy to be fired. Obama told Biden to go and tell the Ukrainians, fire the guy, or we're not going to, give you financial aid anymore. So Biden did it. Well, Republicans, it's because you did it for your son. And we have a star witness. Who can prove it? He's an FBI informant that, by the way, the Biden administration doesn't want to tell you about. Why won't the FBI let our informant go public? Why was he not testifying on the Hill? Well, we now know why the FBI didn't let him go public and why he didn't testify on the Hill. He's under indictment for making up the entire story. This week, the FBI indicted the guy, filed multiple criminal charges against him for lying about the entire story. He made up the entire story about Biden and Burisma and getting the money from the Ukrainian government. The entire thing was a lie. And the guy's under indictment now. Unbelievable. Oh, he was fired for corruption. I mean, that's not even a question at this point. Google the story from anybody who isn't a MAGA news source, and you will see that the entire Burisma is a company. It's just a company. It's a company that Biden's son was on the board of. And by the way, I'm sure he was on the board because his name is Biden. You know who else gets a lot of jobs like that? Trump's. And I don't like it when they get it either, but it's legal. You're allowed to basically do well in life off of daddy's name. I don't like it. I think the Trump children have kind of, what's the word? Is it Dunning-Kruger? I forgot what it's called when you sort of rise above your stature. when sort of the bad people rise to the top. That's what the Trump kids do too. Well, it's Nepo. It's Nepo as well, but it's not just that. It's sort of incompetent people rising. In any case, yeah. So, Burisma case. I forgot to, mind you, the Burisma case totally disappeared today. This was the huge story last night. I mean, we were laughing about it, that this whole Burisma thing happened. Well, now no one's even talking about it because of Aleksei Navalny and the Trump $300 million court case. So it has been I've got a couple other stories to tell you. It has been a crazy day for news here. Absolutely crazy. So a couple other things. France reached a security package with Ukraine today. Zelensky, I believe, was in Paris to sign it with President Macron. The French are providing artillery shells, Caesar howitzers, air defense systems. They also are signed a new bilateral security agreement for the next year, providing 3 billion euros or $3.2 billion in military aid for Ukraine. That's good. I mean, that's actually a good amount. And finally, Reuters. Okay. So U.S. officials came out to kind of quantify what the war in Ukraine has been costing the Russians. And they said that Russia has probably spent up to $211 billion on equipping, deploying, and maintaining its troops in Ukraine. The Russians have lost more than $10 billion in canceled or postponed arms sales because basically they haven't been able to sell things abroad, A, because of the sanctions, B, because they don't have the weapons to sell. They've got to use them domestically for the war. The war has cost Russia an expected $1.3 trillion with a T in previously anticipated economic growth through 2026 and about 315,000 troops killed or injured. And in another cost for Russia, the Ukraine has destroyed or damaged at least 20 medium to large Russian naval vessels and one Russian flag tanker. So there you go. Well, the casualties are 315,000, but the question is how many killed, how many injured. The low estimate of that, I think, is about 200,000 Russian soldiers killed. The high estimate is a lot more. So, all right, that is it for the news today. Like I said, actually, I went through that fast because of my allergy inhaler has me flying. But Annette, Annette was asking, did I cover why the Russians are able to have Starlink internet? Not today. I mentioned that yesterday and the day before. Basically, the Ukrainians have alleged that the Russians are sort of surreptitiously or illegally getting access to Starlink internet, and they're using it in Ukraine, even though the Russians said you're not, Starlink said you're not allowed to do it. Sorry, Barbara, going fast today, like I told folks, because I had a little allergy attack before the show, and it made my chest tight, and I've got asthma too. So I took my allergy inhaler, and the inhaler is like drinking 10 cups of. I don't like it because it opens up your chest, which is great, but it makes you. It's not high. It makes you like caffeinated. So I'm literally like, everything's happening 10 times fast right now. So. It's wee, but it's not wee because you literally can feel like you're having too much caffeine, Anyway, it's crazy. So with Starlink, the Ukrainians say that a number of Arab countries, including United Arab Emirates, are buying Starlink accounts, Starlink internet, Elon Musk's internet, for the Russians and then giving them the accounts. So they're able to get around the sanctions and get around Elon saying he wouldn't let the Russians use it in Ukraine. So anyway... Yet here you are. Thank you, mods. Whoever did that, thank you. Sorry. There was somebody on TikTok who goes, "You're too left-wing and biased, so I had to let you go." And it's like, yet here you are. So you really didn't let me go. One of the mods apparently let her go because then she disappeared magically. It's okay. Anyway, all right. So let's talk, guys. What do we got? Crazy news today. Like I said, the Navalny stuff is horrific. The Trump stuff is wild as far as the penalty. The Burisma stuff is wild. That basically the entire Republican case against Joe Biden for impeachment exploded today because the FBI indicted their informant who basically lied about the entire thing was a lie. And again, Hunter Biden, not my fave at all. But he's a mess. And he clearly, I think, likes to take advantage of daddy's name. But again, lots of kids do. It's boorish. It's not a crime, right? It's gauche, but it's not a crime. And the guy's a mess. And I feel to some degree, too, like he really is kind of a mess, though. Like he's with the drugs and everything else. He clearly is a troubled person. And I almost feel bad for him because he's such a mess that I wish they'd just leave him alone. It's just, anyway. Yes, they're star witnesses in shackles. Is Navalny really dead? I thought about that. The thing is, why lie about it? What benefit do you get out of keeping him alive but telling the world he's dead? Oh, Agnieszka, how are you? I remember you because I remember asking you about that name if it was Polish. Good to see you. Thank you. Very generous of you. Thank you for that on YouTube. Why fake his death? What's the benefit? You might as well kill him. And if you fake the death, well, testing the response, maybe, but you're already going to get the blame. So why not just, why get the blame, but be responsible for feeding the guy for the next 10, 20 years? I don't know. I don't know. Will his family get the remains? The family is going out there tomorrow to do whatever one does. One assumes that they will be able to get him and see if it's him. The mother had just visited. No, the mother visited him earlier in the week. Yesterday, there was CNN just had it. Yesterday, there was some video of him in court or whatever it was at the prison. And he looked good. He was smiling. He was happy. He was waving. He was not on the verge of death, basically. They killed him. Exactly like what Greg just said on YouTube. I just don't see any benefit to Putin in faking the death because you're getting the blame anyway. Why not just kill him? You know what I mean? You're keeping him as your pet in prison. I just don't see the point, right? If you're going to pretend you're going to kill him, you might as well kill him. He shouldn't have gone back in a sense, but having said that, what do you do? You're not just a human rights advocate. You are the opposition leader in a country that has become a dictatorship yet again. You don't go back? I hear you, but it's hard for me to, I don't want to say it's hard for me to say because I kind of wish he didn't go back, obviously, but at the same time, you go back and you go back honestly so they can do something like this. You go back so that you're basically testing the dictator and saying, fine, if you want to do that, okay. Aleksei Navalny got killed. He was the top Russian opposition leader who Putin had jailed a few years ago. Putin tried to kill him 4 years ago, poisoned him with a Soviet nerve agent, Novichok, that they've used before to try to kill other dissidents. And Putin then had him jailed because he's the opposition leader running against Putin, criticizing Putin, had him jailed a few years ago for like 3 years. Then they added on 10 years because they accused him of, I forget what, something else. Then they added on another 19 years because think about this. The guy's in jail. He's in solitary confinement. And after a couple years, the Russians accuse him of terrorism. Mind you, he's been in jail for 2 years. He's been in solitary confinement. How is he committing terrorism? Of course he's not. But they accuse him of extremism and terrorism and give him another 19 years, and he died today. And not a single person thinks the guy just died on his own. He was healthy. He was fine. And Putin tried to kill him 4 years ago with the Novichok. Actually, I'm glad Liv brought this up. Liv just said there's a documentary about Navalny. CNN, along with whoever, did a documentary about Navalny called Navalny. And it won the Oscars. It won an Academy Award a few years ago. CNN just said they are showing it tomorrow night, if you're American at least, at 9 o'clock Eastern time, U.S. tomorrow night. I checked the TV guide. It's not there yet, but they've got a different show they're showing. But it's worth checking out. It was supposed to be, it may be on HBO. It was, Cinemax has it right now, by the way, because I pulled it up on my TV to see where it was, and it was on Cinemax, just so you know, or Max. But it may be other places, but CNN is showing it for free tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. The Ukraine thing is interesting. Mike asks, was Navalny pro-invasion of Ukraine? The Ukrainians do not like this guy. And I don't have all of it in front of me, but I know, and I take them at their word, the Ukrainians say that he supported the invasion of Crimea or the stealing of Crimea, for example. So, he ain't perfect. The problem is we're dealing with Russia, and you aren't going to get, guys, we were partners with the Soviet Union and Joseph Stalin in World War II to beat the Nazis. Sometimes you've got to ally with people who aren't perfect. Navalny is certainly better than Joseph Stalin. It's nothing you can do about it. But fair point from the Ukrainians, but I would disagree about the Ukrainians on saying, therefore, we don't accept it. Therefore, we don't accept him. Therefore, we don't work with him. Or no Ukrainian I've heard say this, but therefore we don't care that Putin kills him. He's not perfect, but we are talking about Russia here. Thank you, Marlene. Did you just sign up? I think you may have, at least according to what I'm seeing here as a member on YouTube. Thank you so much for that. Oh, tomorrow morning, speaking of Marlene, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time US. See, I'm slowing down a little bit now. My asthma inhaler is finally calming down a bit. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I will be doing my coffee talk, which is my hangout I do, thank you, Joe, for the monthly subscribers on TikTok and YouTube. Basically, the TikTok monthly subscribers can join us 11 a.m. Eastern time US. That's Washington, D.C. or New York City time. The rest of you head over to YouTube. So you can see it on YouTube. The event is already set up in the top left. Make sure if you're new, like Marlene, I don't know if you're new and you want to try it, you basically set up a Discord account. You go to Discord, you look for the Aravosis Discord, mine. It's, what is it, discord.aravosis.com, I believe. But you can just go to Discord and search for me. And then when you get there, once you join or whatever, you have to go to your settings and connect your YouTube account. Somewhere in your settings, there will be a way to say, oh, link to YouTube, and say yes. And when you do it, it will recognize your YouTube account and you'll be able to access tomorrow's. But it's fun. We hang out. It's a nice kind of TikTok. Oh, that's funny. Really, Timothy, you or somebody else told me about that, about TikTok not letting you resubscribe. I have no idea what the problem is. I mean, all of these services are sort of a black hole because it's kind of like, you know, TikTok. Who the heck knows? Yeah, Avdiivka, William. William asked about Avdiivka. So Avdiivka is a Ukrainian city in eastern Ukraine. The Russians are trying with everything they can to take it over. They've destroyed most of the city. They are losing thousands. Thousands of men. I don't know. I'm trying to think whether it was 1,000 a day. Horrific number of men the Russians were losing. Thank you, Joe. Trying to get this town. And it is the first town, sort of everyone is admitting now. Everyone's kind of admitting that we believe Ukraine's going to lose it. They're going to lose the town to the Russians. It is the first town that the MAGA Republicans, having cut off American aid to Ukraine, that we believe this is sort of the first big battle that the lack of American aid is impacting. That the Ukrainians are going to lose it because they don't have enough ammunition because we cut them off. Well, it was MAGA Republicans who cut them off. We didn't cut them off. Today's report said the Ukrainians were pulling back from some neighborhood. I couldn't tell you which, but that they were pulling back from some neighborhood, so it's getting worse. But that was sort of the only update, so I didn't really put it on the list because it wasn't anything new. We kind of know they're going to lose the town, and it's coming, and they lost a little bit more today. So anyway, glad you asked, but yeah, that's the deal. Oh, interesting, Jay. So Jay is saying he had the same problem on TikTok. Thank you, Marie, by the way. And their help desk tried to help, that it wouldn't let him resubscribe his membership. They tried to help. It didn't work. And now for some reason it works. Thanks, Adam. I'm hoping that I never think of myself as having a radio voice, to be honest, because radio voices for me tend to be much lower level and this kind of, the nice lower level voices. But I do have a good radio microphone, which helps. It helps to give you a better voice, at least. So thank you for saying that. So what else, guys? What else we got? Yeah, no, the Avdiivka thing is bad. It's because the MAGA Republicans cut off the Ukrainians, Missile being shot down. I don't know anything about a missile being shot down. Thanks, Rebecca. What missile was shot down in Ukraine? Anything special today? I don't know. Watch it, Terry. Face for radio. Watch it. I know there were a bunch of attacks today. There were multiple pictures on like Sky News or somewhere, had multiple pictures of holes in the ground in Ukraine. I saw that, but I didn't see anything else. Navalny's death, was it confirmed? Well, this is Russia, so it depends what confirmed means because they're going to lie. His family is on the way, I heard today. Supposedly his family will arrive at the prison camp tomorrow, and then it becomes, thank you, NJ Patman, it becomes a question of, do they give the family the body? Do they let the family see the body? So the family can conclusively say that's him, right? We don't know. Otherwise, how do you confirm it? Because they're going to lie. I mean, there's no other way to confirm it, So hopefully, thank you, Robert, for the dino. I love dinos. But Colin, I wouldn't even know where to start. What are your views about Israel and Palestine? Don't even. Don't even. Don't even. Well, here's the neat thing, Stephen. By the way, Stephen. Steven says, get your uniform on, hard man. See, the neat part is I don't have to get my uniform on to go fight in Ukraine. Thank you, Joe, because the Ukrainians are doing it for me. The Ukrainians have been destroying the Russian military all by themselves, risking their own men and women, risking their own families, risking their own businesses in order to save their country. And they're not asking for anything from us other than a little help, other than some military equipment. They're not asking us to risk our lives. They're not asking us to get involved in the war. Nothing. We have not had to risk a single American soldier or a single American life, nor a single allied life. No European has had to risk their lives, no Canadian, no Asian, nobody who is supporting Ukraine. They are doing it for us, and they are taking down a dictatorship, and by the way, setting it back a good 5 to 10 years, because as we now know, Russia is a dictatorship. I mean, we knew this anyway, but now there's no question about it, and we've seen how bad Russia's getting now with the outright murder of the political opposition and others. But the neat part is we don't have to put on uniforms. Thank you, Simon, because the Ukrainians are doing it for us. And isn't that a wonderfully generous thing of the Ukrainians? So if you ask me, if we could destroy the Russian military, which frankly is our enemy, and we could do it by spending a small percentage of our defense budget, thank you, Liv, and not risk a single American life, sounds like a great deal to me. Thank you, Frank. So, hi, Alina. In Ukraine, how are you? Where are you in Ukraine, if I may ask? Only because we do get used to a lot of the names, so I think a lot of us at least are familiar with a lot of the names. There are Europeans fighting there, but nobody's officially fighting there for their government. Nobody's fighting on behalf of the countries. They're volunteers. That's totally different. There is no American being required to risk their life, and no European either. They're volunteers, but they're allowed to go anyway. Ukraine's destroyed a third of the Russian Navy. Yeah, Ukraine's destroyed a huge amount of the Russian Navy. They destroyed like 3,000 tanks. I mean, probably killed 300,000 Russian troops. I mean, they've definitely set Russia back, which is good, because had they not done that, we would have been seeing more of a threat to from Rivne. I don't know Rivne. Okay, I don't know Rivne. I may have seen the name before, but I'm not sure. Actually, Anamaga, it's not Ukraine or Ukraine. It's Ukraini, I believe. So it doesn't really matter what we call it in English, does it? Really? You're haggling over how to pronounce the name that isn't even the name. It's like, is it Athens or Athens? Well, it's neither. It's Athena, really, if we're going to get into it. So, Tucker, I hope he does, Jack. Tucker paints a much different picture than I do of the war in Ukraine. That's because I don't lie, and I don't work for a dictator, nor do I curry favor for a dictator. I tell the truth, which means I hold Putin accountable, and I also criticize Joe Biden for being a little too weak on Ukraine, which he did again today, as I said. You won't find Tucker criticizing his people, but you will find me. Hey, Vlad in Kyiv. I'm going to see. I see brothers and sisters, but I don't know what else you wrote there. Let me see here. Greetings to all brothers and sisters. That was nice of you. Thank you. Not my Vlad, another Vlad in Kyiv. The problem is, Jake, they are. Jake says military studies show Russia's army is about 30 years behind the U.S. They are not a threat to NATO. The problem is they are a threat. The Finns, I believe it was, did an intelligence report a couple days ago. I think this was the Finns. I think there were a couple of reports from the Finns and others. And what they said is, even though the Russians are technologically behind NATO, meaning years behind us, they've got so much artillery. They've got so many tanks. They've got so many men, and they're building up their military. And they've got such a good long range missile system in place that they could wreak havoc on Europe. They could destroy European cities and cause damage all over Europe. That's the problem, is that our military is better than theirs, but they could cause a lot of damage and a lot of problems nonetheless. And, the concern too is that they could take things like the Baltic states before we could get there. And then we've got to go in and get them out. So, I think if your point is, thank you, Sherry, if your point is, could we win a war with Russia? Probably, right? But would it be easy? No. Would a lot of people die? Yes. Not to mention nukes. Bryce mentions the nukes as well. We wouldn't use our nukes. Would Russia use theirs? Maybe. What do you mean, Oleg? Oleg is asking, does China support Europe or Russia here? In terms of what exactly, though? I mean, we know they're supporting Russia generally in the war in Ukraine, right? Red asks about the F-16s. Maybe they're coming to Ukraine soon. I mean, the original plan from what we read was they might not be coming until August of this year, which is still, 6 months away, 7 months away. I won't believe the F-16s till I see them, to be honest. I'm hoping they arrive, and we'll see. Hey, Jean-Marc, can't watch and ride your bike at the same time. Sorry. China supports its economy and trade, hence Europe. Yeah. What else we got here? Rivne in the west of Ukraine. All right, let me see if I've got you on my map. Maybe. Oh, you're on the map. You're on the map. Who's that? I'm already forgetting your name now. Thank you for the gift, Ben and Hans. Sorry. Where were you? I wanted to see Anna or Alina. Alina, who's with us on TikTok, is from Rivne. The map, the great map, has Rivne. It's over here, just so folks can see. Thank you, Lisa. I'm always excited when my little map that people make fun of has so many useful towns on here. So there you go. See? Never mock the T-shirt map. No problem. It's always exciting to actually find these things on the map. What else we got, guys? What else we got? Keep the gifts coming, by the way. I always hate to keep asking, but, I've got to because I do this full time. Israel and Palestine, nothing new. I mean, there's thank you, C3. Every day there are new accusations. The Israelis found some stuff recently, but honestly, I'm uncomfortable sharing accusations from the Israelis, even though the Hamas they're a terrorist group. I'm certainly not going to trust what they say. When the Israeli government claims something, I'm still kind of 50-50, to be honest, because it's Netanyahu and I don't trust him. So there has been stuff recently from the Israelis finding, some command centers and other things underground, but including finding a command center or a technological command center underneath UN headquarters in Gaza. But I'd like to see it from Western, like, for example, I would love to see, it is a T-shirt, I would love to see Western media embedded with the Israeli troops. Because if it's reported by the Western media, and then they're able to say, oh yeah, we went there when it was untouched. There were even some, Hamas guys there that were shot in front of us because they were manning it, then I'd believe it more. The UN fired 12 workers, but that was like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. No, I believe you. I mean, I know what you're saying, Offrey, but I do think this is a longer discussion because I tend to be very pro-Israel, but I do think Israel's got a little bit of a credibility problem. Again, Hamas, forget it. So thank you, Super Hornet. And it's ridiculous that anybody accepts data or numbers or anything else from Hamas. They're a terrorist group and they're liars. You shouldn't believe them. But as we've said, your eyes don't lie to you. We know a lot of Palestinians have died, clearly. Thank you, Super Hornet. But I don't trust Netanyahu, and I don't know if I trust the IDF fully when they're at war and making claims. And I wish there was some more I want to believe them, but I'd like somebody independent who I trust, and it could be American media, to be with them, or the U.S. government to somehow confirm it, but somebody I actually trust. And I think it's a problem for the Israelis because you've got people who generally like you and agree with you who still kind of wonder whether you're telling the truth or not, and that's not good, But I'm serious. Like the BBC, any of the American news people I trust, whether it's CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, I would trust them embedded with the Israeli troops. I'm not saying it's a good idea for the Israelis. Who knows? You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's hard as an outsider to know what to believe, I think. I don't think so, Christoph. I really don't. Christoph says, I hate to say it, but I don't trust a lot of the American media. They have their own agenda. They don't, though. They really don't. No, I mean, that is one of the reasons I rail about the MAGA Republicans. And even pre-MAGA, for the last 30 plus years, Republicans realized that the media, first of all, Donald Trump isn't the first liar in the Republican Party. For like 30 years, whether it was going after gays, whether it was going after a lot of different issues, Republicans realized lying was beneficial. Thank you, House of Pew. And they also realized that they would get called out on their lies by the media. So they figured, well, I guess we'll have to take down the media. And they did. Thank you, Olga. They took down the media. And they've been spending the last 30 years making you not trust the media, the mainstream media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN. I mean, and I love how I mentioned CNN. I love the trolls, or not even trolls, the Republicans. Oh, you trust CNN. Yeah, because CNN is one of the best news sources in the entire world. That's why I trust CNN. Thank you, Mustard. But they've created this bullshit narrative that you can't trust CNN, you can't trust the Washington Post, you can't trust. I mean, it's honestly, thank you, Mustard. It reminds me, it literally is Donald Trump with his 91 indictments. I'm being railroaded. 91 indictments? Really? Like 3 different states? I mean, three different states and Washington, D.C. 2 cases in New York. At least 1 in Washington, D.C. 1 in Georgia. 1 in Florida. I mean, 91? You're being railroaded? Really? Federal level, state level. Thank you, Marie. And I feel like it's the same thing with the news media thing. Like the entire news media is in a great conspiracy to lie to you on behalf of who exactly? I just don't buy it. I mean, I think it's bullshit. And I think reporters get things wrong, right? The New York Times gets things wrong, but they're an amazing news. The New York Times, amazing reporters. CNN, amazing reporters. Washington Post, amazing reporters. I mean, I can speak for American media. I know of British media, but I just can't, right? I mean, The Guardian seems very good. The BBC seems good, but it's not my life's blood. Like I know Washington Post reporters. I've known New York Times reporters. You know what I mean? Like I know people at CNN. I've known these things for years. It's just bullshit. They don't have an agenda. They don't. You know, Sky News seems very good. But it's not even bias. You are dealing with, because Jen is saying all have a little bias. You're dealing with human beings. So, for example, the Israel-Palestine thing. The bias there is, in some ways, that the media believe what Hamas is telling them. Now, that's not bias necessarily, but they do lean towards believing Hamas. So everything Hamas claims, they kind of believe. I don't think it's bias. I don't think it's because they hate Jews. You know what I mean? It's so you could have media, and frankly, the media with Ukraine. The media has been very supportive of Ukraine. And I think because what you also have found is sometimes their job as reporters is to be objective, but sometimes you can't be objective. Sometimes you have to pick a side. And certainly with Ukraine, it's obvious. You can't say, well, we're not going to pick a side between Russia committing genocide and Ukraine getting attacked for no reason. Well, you know. So is that bias, or is it sometimes reporters, Donald Trump, right? Do they not pick a side between democracy and Donald Trump? Well, they're not going to exist anymore, nor will the country if you don't pick a side. And I mean, I hate to compare it to World War II, but, you know, in Italy or Germany, you don't pick a side? Well, you're not going to be around long if you don't pick a side. I mean, at some point, you've got to pick a side. Does that make you biased? You know. Chris, hey, Chris. Off topic, do you think Matt Gaetz, you mean, will get prison time and or be impeached? I don't think so. For what, though, I guess? What's the latest? I mean, I know his weird investigation of his weird underage friend, travel buddy. But I don't really know whether the FBI might indict him on something. Who knows? You know? They might. I mean, I think typical with the FBI, we don't know what's going on, which is actually a good thing because they're not supposed to tell us what's going on, you know? Excuse me. Thank you, Alina. Yeah, well, what they're saying, Alina, what the moderators were trying to say is try not to post the same thing repeatedly because some people do that and it gets to be too much and it's like all over the place. So that's what they mean when they said don't spam. But I do see it. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Hey, Jetta, thank you for that. What else we got, guys? That's a different story. Lottery Lettuce says New York Times, CNN, MSNBC add endless fluff to topics for dramatic effect and social engineering. media is just like anybody else, right? My videos on TikTok, I need to get views in order to get paid, right? Because TikTok gives you money too. So of course I'm going to try to make my videos interesting and catchy. I've got to get your attention in the first 5 seconds on TikTok. So of course I'm going to say things in a way to get your attention. I'm also going to say things in a way that, and do it in a way that hopefully keeps your attention more than 5 seconds, because again, that helps me get money on TikTok. But if I want you to keep coming to me, I also need to make sure that I'm not playing games, because if you smell that I'm just playing games, that I'm giving you, for example, oh my God, it's the end of the world, and every video I give you is the end of the world, you're going to start to go, okay, this is BS. You're just doing this to get views, right? So for the media too, though, they've got to think, they got to make money. So there's going to be some of that. And CNN needs viewers. Thank you, Frank. So CNN will cover like the Fannie Willis trial nonstop that's driving me insane, you know? Thank you, Marlene. Douglas Murray, who's a British author and journalist. I have no idea who that is. Douglas Murray. Do any of the Brits know? I've never heard of him. Who is he? Don't know. Misha, you're back. Good to see you. I didn't see you there earlier. Busy day in your country there, Misha. Jen, I am in some ways. Yeah. Jen says, are you concerned that the younger generation have moved away from sort of the mainstream media seeking their own social? Yes, because I'm not sure people are bright enough to do that. I'm pretty intelligent. B, I've worked in media. I've got a law degree. I've worked online for 40 years. I've been like an internet activist and internet writer and everything else, so that I've been very good at, I think I'm very good at smelling BS online and being able to see what's true and what isn't and all of that. You know what I mean? Not everybody, I'm amazed at how many people can't. It's very difficult for people to go online and say, to realize, I always ask people too, when they hear something, I'm like, well, even you guys, sometimes you guys will send me stuff on Discord or whatever, and I'll say like, where did you get that from? They'll say, well, it was in, Newsweek. And I'll have to sort of explain, well, Newsweek isn't what it used to be. Newsweek used to be a very good, one of the top American news publications. Now the name was sold, and it's kind of, they rewrite news stories from B-list places, from places that are kind of So you really can't trust Newsweek anymore. People don't know that. I saw a video on TikTok. I saw a video on YouTube, they'll say. And not you guys, but people I know. It's very bad. And as Miss Mickey's saying, media literacy isn't great anymore. It's really not. And this is why it was beneficial to have the mainstream media, because you had people who knew experts on the topic, who had the money and the resources to investigate. Hey, JJ, who had the money and the resources to investigate, could actually look into topics and try to find the truth. And now you've got a million lies out there from left and right and everywhere in between. And how do you know what's true anymore? Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Mustard. Right? It's very difficult. No, I worry. And oh my God, did you guys see the new AI videos last night that came out? Oh my God. Insane. The ChatGPT people, I think, they're the ones released. They've got a new like ChatGPT for videos where you give it a sentence and you tell it what Alina can't post. What happened? Did Alina get muted somehow? Guys, bring Alina back, if you would. Mods, if you can, on TikTok, make sure she's not muted. But this video stuff last night was insane. It was things like, YouTube is funny about these things. TikTok isn't. YouTube, I'm not sure. Let me see. I may be able to show you. Right wing, Douglas Murray. Okay. Yeah. Don't know him though. No. Hang on a second. Let me see about this. It was, these, basically they gave them sentences. Hold on. And told them create videos. Trying to pull the, here we go. Create videos from text. This one is A stylish woman walks down a Tokyo street filled with warm glow. This is what they wrote to get them to do the video, okay? A stylish woman walks down a Tokyo street filled with warm, glowing neon and animated city signs. She wears a black leather jacket, a long red dress, and black boots, and carries a black purse. She wears sunglasses and red lipstick. She walks confidently and casually. The street is damp and reflective, creating a mirror effect of the colorful lights many pedestrians walk about. This is the fake video it created. That's a fake ChatGPT video. This isn't real. That's the description they gave, and this is the woman walking down through Tokyo. It's scary. I mean, hold on. I'm going to pull this up to the beginning to show you guys. So this is her walking down the streets of Tokyo. It's all fake. Look at this. For you guys, it's a little harder. There you can see now. All fake. Oh, there's more. I'm not going to go through all of them. Several giant woolly mammoths approach treading through a snowy meadow with their long woolly fur. And it says the snow is billowy and white. It gives you details of what it should look like. Fake video here. It's literally woolly mammoths, and it shows the snow billowing in the air. I mean, guys, again, for you guys, it's not as good over on YouTube, but you can get the idea. Yeah, it's not going to work as well on YouTube. Oh, this one was wild. A movie trailer. So create a movie trailer featuring the adventures of a 30-year-old spaceman wearing a red wool knitted motorcycle helmet, blue sky, salt, desert, cinematic style, shot on 35mm film, vivid colors. This is the fake movie trailer of the guy in the red cap. In the desert? I mean, again, this is all fake. None of this is real. Hopefully, okay, you guys can see better for this one. I mean, none of this is real. Again, not as good for you guys. It is absolutely... Oh. Animated scene features a close-up of a short, fluffy monster kneeling beside a melting red Campbell. The art style is 3D and realistic with a focus on lighting and texture. The mood of the painting is one of wonder and curiosity as the monster gazes at the flame. This is a fake cartoon. Tell me these guys are not going to be losing jobs. Fake cartoon. Okay, this is good. Again, it's going to be a little blurry, but good enough. Guys, this is a fake cartoon created by a computer. I mean, it's... I know it is cute. It is... I'm... Let me look. There's a couple more. I'm going to find like a couple of the... Oh my God, this one was crazy. All they wrote was, create a movie showing historical footage of California during the gold rush. And here's what it came up with. California during the gold rush. I'll show you guys in a second. Or actually, you can see. This way you guys can see too. It's all fake. They created an entire town. It's all fake. I mean, look at this. And I love when they turn the corner and you can see all the buildings lined up in a row. I mean, it is. Let me find a couple more here. Her eye. Yeah. Hold on. No, this absolutely blew my mind. Actually, this was very well done. It said, show reflections in the window of a train traveling through Tokyo. Again, this is fake. Oh, let's start again at the beginning. This is fake. Reflections in the window of a train going through Tokyo. I mean, this is insane. And the thing is, like I said, it's all fake. Well, actually, as Offrey just said, generated within seconds. Yeah, this one was pretty cool. Show a flock of paper airplanes fluttering through a dense jungle, weaving around trees as if they were migrating birds. So it did. Oops, hang on. Paper airplanes flying through the jungle, weaving through trees. I mean, and again, think of the animators who used to do this kind of stuff. No, I mean, this is, go to openai.com. So we're actually here. You guys can see openai.com. Okay. You can never see anything on YouTube. It's always too bright, but openai.com. And they've got this up for their, Chinese New Year dragon in a crowd. Again, totally fake. I mean, the entire city street is there. I'm excited though, because it blows my mind, but it worries me. Oh my God. Also the descriptions are great. This is what they wrote to the ChatGPT this is all they told it to do. A litter of golden retriever puppies playing in the snow. Their heads pop out of the snow covered in it. Again, fake. It's beautiful. And look at that. Just look at the snow. Look at the snow kind of falling off their head and stuff. No, it does explain the actor strike, doesn't it? Oops, hang on. The wolf wasn't as good. This was interesting. An extreme close-up of a gray-haired man with a beard in his 60s. Now, it gives all sorts of details. Put a brown beret on his head, glasses, a beard, make him in his young 60s. This man doesn't exist. They described every detail. Even look at the people in the street behind him, how it even did the street behind him. This guy doesn't exist. Even the micro movements of his face. Of course they're going to use this politically. Yeah. The Russians are going to be the first people to use it. Big surprise. Now this is interesting because this also shows you how they're going to use it for movies. A robot in a cyberpunk style, and it gave all sorts of other details. I mean, look at this. Look at the level of detail of this frickin' movie. You can put your own picture too. Almost done with this. This was a good one too. Beautiful snow. Tokyo City is bustling. The camera moves through the bustling city street, following several people enjoying the beautiful snowy weather, shopping at nearby stalls. Gorgeous sakura petals are flying through the wind along with snowflakes. So it created this. This was one of the cooler ones. I mean, the thing is, it's wonderful at the same time. Isn't it, though? I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. You know? Yeah, that's correct. Hero says chess players were beaten by robots. True. I mean, when you think about it, right? You know? Yeah, you could make an AI me. Even this was kind of cool. It's simple, but it's kind of cool. This one was... it's too late. Pull up. This was sort of an art gallery one. No, it's incredibly cool. But imagine being able to make movies. Imagine being able to make the news. You no longer need to pay for talent. You'd have fake talent. Fake reporters. I mean, fake meaning literally no real reporter. That's openai.com. It's AI. It's not an app yet. They did their own. They haven't released it public yet. Thank you, Jeremy. They did a bunch of videos. They gave it sentences and said, make a video that shows a woman in a red hat and and then they posted the videos online. But you won't, I was going to say Oscars. It's true for Oscars. You won't need actors, and to some degree. You'll need some of the technical people, but will you? I believe it's the same company as ChatGPT, I think, because I saw the guy, Sam Altman, talk about it. I think, Marina, Google it, because OpenAI, you'll see. It's so freaking cool. It's so freaking cool. I mean, it really is. I mean, I love this stuff, but Jesus Christ, Yeah, Misha says you could make a fake world. I mean, the thing is, we won't be able to trust anything anymore. I mean, I think, videos, movies, photos, I mean, nothing. And if anything, by the way, this is where trusted media comes in. You are only going to be able to trust the New York Times with its own photos, Reuters with its own photos, right? Reuters with its own video. But you're going to have to know who's got the photo, who got the video, where is it from. And honestly, unless it comes from a major news outlet, I wouldn't believe it. Because who's to believe anymore? It's really freaky. It's really... So who is OpenAI, though? Is it part of ChatGPT or not, Occulto? I wasn't sure. I thought it was part of ChatGPT. Or is it its own separate thing? If anybody wants to Google as we're talking about this. It's amazing. It's amazing. ChatGPT was made by OpenAI. Okay, thank you. Because I was 99% sure I saw Sam Altman of ChatGPT sort of talking about that this was another project of theirs. I mean, I love it. It reminds me of the early internet. Like, it was fun being old enough to be able to witness the internet in the 1990s. And at the same time be old enough that I actually was using it for work and politics, like we were political organizing and all sorts of stuff. This feels the same. It's magical. It's magical, but it's dangerous as hell. You know? You got to be careful there, Misha, but I would agree it would be fascinating, but be very careful, obviously. What do I think about you-know-who in Russia? We're allowed to talk about... We are allowed to talk about people in Russia. You mean Putin, or who do you mean? Or Snowden? What do you mean? Anyway, it's very cool. The video stuff is cool, but it's sad because, you know... Oh, your son is up for an Oscar for the special effects on the latest Mission Impossible film? Oh, that's cool. I didn't know Mission Impossible had a latest film. I've always liked the Mission Impossible films. Didn't know they had one, though. That's interesting. Simulation theory? I don't know it. Cool. What is that? What is simulation theory? Exactly, Craig. Yeah, the first cars, exactly. Oh, the theory that we're all live in a simulation and we don't know it. Yeah, I mean, that's funny. It is funny. You know, because at some point, you'd think technology is going to become sentient. It's already, I mean, what is sentience anyway? You know? Having enough synapses and having enough, I mean, it's going to become self-aware with all this stuff going on. You know? I do start to worry about robots destroying us. Yes, Oleg. I do. Oh, we have another troll. I love that, but I love when they do that. Thank you for getting rid of him, by the way. Some guy named Stefan shows up. Who is paying you for this crap? Dude, we're talking about ChatGPT and showing videos. I mean, but I always tell you, like, the sort of paid Russian trolls are the easy ones to figure out because they're not very, well, the bad ones are not very good. The good ones may be very good, but the bad ones are very bad, and they literally quote their talking points at the wrong time. So, like, right now, we're literally, like, showing ChatGPT videos. Who's paying you for this? OpenAI? Like, what are you talking about? But they also can't spell. Their commas are wrong. The commas and the spaces are wrong. Like, everything's wrong. No, they will be. But you will not be able to trust any videos or any... First of all, I don't trust videos and things I find online anyway. I don't. Unless somebody can point me to a source and it's a good source, I tend not to trust it. I had been trusting the Ukrainian military because I assume it's their video if they're releasing it. But, you know, do you think robots will ever enter the political world? It depends. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You mean they become political actors? I mean, they're smart enough someday, who knows, but not sure. They will certainly use these things to scam the political world. Certainly, they already are. You know? Advice for a teacher if UK students? But what kind of, thank you, Pam Pam. What kind of advice, though? What do you mean? About what exactly, though? Boston Dynamics has another robot? Oh, no. Those guys are scary. Let me pull this up and see. Boston Dynamics, human robot. Their robots are the scariest things. They're the ones that have the scary dog robots. You know what I mean? That are really good but scary. Let me see here. Is there something new though? Let me see. Atlas gets ready for work. Let me see here if this is a new. Where's the video? I hate these news stories that don't show the video. It's like, guys, come on. Oh, they're showing a TikTok or a Twitter. Hold on. Let me pull up a tweet and take a look at this. Oh, these are like the human robots. Strength, perception, and mobility. I mean, what's disturbing is they're Cylons, you know? I mean, if they don't make them smart, that's better, but then they're going to be dumb Cylons, which is still not very good. Dumb Cylons can still kill you when the smart Cylon named Caesar decides he wants to rally everybody and wake them up. I mean, you know, God, the way he's walking, though, Jesus Christ. Hold on, that was... He like bumped into something and hit it, I think. They can do, well, they've been doing backflips for a while. Now they're doing all sorts of other stuff. It is kind of amazing because they are like looking like people, the way they're moving and walking and everything else. Jesus Christ. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool though at the same time, you know? I mean, it's a little bit of both. My company just got a spot to go through our mills when they catch fire. Not sure what that means, Connor. Version 1 Cylon. That's exactly it, though. They're version 1. Now, that would be pretty creepy, though. Hey, Wayfarer, to like get the like soul, get the single eye and do the wow, 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 wow. I do like Friends. I like Friends a lot. I haven't watched it recently, but whenever I watch Friends, I very much enjoy it. Get out of here. Rose says, I was in Bruges and my dinner was served to us by a robot. Seriously? What was that about? That's kind of cool and weird. Yeah, by your command. That's kind of weird. I'm curious to hear more about that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave. I can't serve you dinner. Oh, I think I heard about that. There was a case in South Korea a month ago where a robot mistook a worker for a box and the outcome was, well, ugly. I vaguely remember hearing about that musical. Yes. Did Ukraine leave Avdiivka entirely? We knew that they're leaving. It's only, as I was saying earlier, it's only a matter of time. Non-manned robots delivering stuff at the hospital. Yeah, hospital, that's interesting. Okay. Oscars in March. Oh, these are like the early Oscars. Mission Impossible nomination speech, special effects. Okay. But yeah, I didn't even know, like I said, I didn't even know there was a new Mission Impossible. I also didn't know there was a new Dune, which it got good reviews, or people said they're raving about it, but, you know, boy. Anyway, all right, guys, we're at an hour and a half. I'm getting tired here. Oh, boy. Oh, my God, I'm tired. Oh, so remember tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow we've got our coffee talk. I know, dear, we should have a Dune watch. I don't tend to watch a lot of movies, though, but I like Dune 2 is out, apparently. I know, I was saying the same thing. I'm like, where is it if it's out? I mean, I typically don't go to movies. I probably would watch on my TV. I do have a large TV. It doesn't look big. It's about 55. I had a 60-inch before, 55 inches, which makes me very happy. I know my inhaler is always in my pocket, so I never really need it. It's just today it was bothering me a little bit, but oh, excuse me. Oh, do another shot of inhaler. Yeah. Whoa. I don't think so. Anyway, thank you, Carrie. Mission Impossible is on Prime or payment already. I'll take a look. Actually, I haven't even checked Amazon Prime for a while. I do need to check that too, but well, I like to look at reviews first. If the reviews are good, if the people overall like it, I will pay for it. Tucker, we did a lot of talk about Tucker in Russia. Not a fan of Tucker. He's a liar. He's also got a really weird fixation with dictators like Putin and Orban. So, you know, Paramount Plus. Oh boy. Sorry. Tired. I've been staying up late playing my Baldur's Gate 3, which has been very fun. Dune was in London yesterday. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to see. Hopefully it's on something I can go pay and watch it on TV somewhere. Saltburn. No, you guys have told me about, somebody told me about Saltburn. I'm going to write this down. I remember this being mentioned to me, and I keep forgetting to check it out. No, Saltburn. No, I do not know it, but I will check it out. Thank you, Marie. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. The dog is trying to get her water, which means pretty soon she's going to get bitchy with me. You know how that works. I will check it out. And I will see some of you tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S., we will be doing our show for the paid subscribers on TikTok. And the rest of you paid subscribers will do it on Discord, discord.aravosis.com. Otherwise, I'll see you guys Monday. I will continue to do videos over the weekend because I do videos on TikTok, so check those out too. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and YouTube. I always forget to ask that, but do follow. Give clicks. And thank you. Yep, coffee talk tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. And otherwise, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate the gifts, always. Mods. Appreciate you. So, and we'll see all of you tomorrow. Thank you, Brian. But I will see you guys tomorrow, okay? So thank you. Good night, Rose in Ireland. All right, guys, have a good night, okay? I'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys. All right.